Okay, quit touching the camera.
You. We got it. Sorry.
You got it?
I think so.
All righty. We're hot. We're ready. Barry, you got audio?
Yeah.
Oh!
Wow.
All right, guys. Welcome to Jacob V Weekly, Skanksgiving 2021. We want to start, like we do every episode, inviting you to donate to Caddyshack of New Hamel, Illinois. That's C-A-T-T-Y, Shack I-L on Facebook. They save cats, and they don't, take a bunch of money for themselves or anything. They are humble servants of the feline. Is that the correct word?
Yeah.
Okay, thank God. I threw it out there, and I was like, I don't know if that's right. Save a life or 9. Patreon.com/JacobV. It's the only way to financially support this show because I don't know how to email Raid Shadow Legends to sponsor the show otherwise. So, go with what you got. And let me turn that off there. Let me just check a couple of things. We're doing it live. Caddyshack IL on Facebook, patreon.com/JacobV. Also, you could follow the show on Instagram at JacobV Weekly, JACOBVI Weekly. I also have a new album that dropped this week that I didn't know was going to happen this week until it was already happening. I'm in a band called Blinded by Stereo. New album is called Tape. It's available on all platforms, and look forward to a forthcoming vinyl release probably by the spring. We're looking to see if anybody that owns a business in publishing wants to pay for any of that before we go ahead and just do it. So, great. I have my friends with me. We have a full house tonight, baby. Look at them. I got Austin Oberg. I got Barry King and his lovely companion, Danielle. What's your last name? I don't even know your last name. Oh, great. Great. I'm so happy to see you guys. I'm not even going to draw attention to it. It's just a little white down here.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I mean? But I notice those things. I'm sensitive to those issues. You probably didn't notice.
No, I wasn't thinking about it.
You didn't think about it.
Worried about the cats.
See?
I thought you were talking about camera exposure.
No.
Yes.
No, we're not overexposed. We're just all from the mountains of Caucasus.
Yeah. Yeah, a little white.
Which is okay. I mean, you got to do you. I mean, anyway. So what's going on? It is Barry, Skanksgiving is the night before Thanksgiving.
Oh, is that really a thing?
Because everyone goes out and gets messed up, and that's the whole thing.
We were just talking about, I didn't know this, but Danielle said that it is like the biggest party night of the year because everyone's back in town and stuff.
The most DWIs?
Didn't know that.
Well, that's what I texted my brother and said, are you closing at work? He's a bartender. I said, maybe skip the after party. Maybe don't go to prison.
Yeah.
Is what I told him. I thought I recorded a bunch of our conversation about that goat for the cold open, but I had the loop selected, so I didn't. So,
do you want to hear about Larry again?
Okay, so Larry, what did you call him?
King Larry.
King Larry.
King Larry. So
Larry King.
Larry King. Well, that's why I like having Barry King on the show, is because it's like, back to our correspondent, Barry King. He sounds like a guy.
Sounds like a jazz, master.
I am not that.
You're not a jazz master?
No, not in the slightest.
But
I can pretend for.
Have you ever tried to jazz?
Jazz. I mean,
Austin, check your mic for me.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, maybe that's Danielle's mic. Danielle, tap on your mic for me. Okay, I just want to make sure it was on. Sorry. My mom hates that part of the show. She feels like the show is just 20 minutes of us arguing about the audio. So trying to cinch that up as much as possible. Larry King, the GOAT.
So King Larry
Larry.
lives north of here in an eco village in Rutledge.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I didn't know we were going down this whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
What is an eco village?
Or I guess a sustainability community might be a better word for that. It's just a community where people live with less.
What?
Less stuff, Their houses are generally made of reclaimed earthen type materials. Lots of good old straw, Missouri clay, reclaimed wood. People like to run around naked in the woods. I mean,
You're not wrong.
It sounds like a fun weekend, at the very least.
yeah, try 6 months.
Did you
Right.
Did you live there
Yeah, I lived there.
for 6 months?
Yeah, 5 to 6 months.
Your parents never lived there. This isn't like
No.
This is something you chose to do.
Well, my sister and her husband researched it for a long time and decided to move there, and I was helping them move. And then all the COVID stuff happened, and I was like, you know what? Let's just try it out. And I just kicked it there for a while. I still came back and forth quite a bit.
Was this before Ground Control?
No, it was just during Ground Control, but we couldn't really play shows, so
Oh,
I did a lot of driving back and forth.
You'd come in weekly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sometimes
Barry
more
King
than that.
weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I slept in my car sometimes, and
I was unaware of that.
How far away was it? You guys were
For-
together at the time?
Well, we started seeing each other. We were friends beforehand.
yeah, we were hanging
and
out
we
and
were
stuff.
hanging out.
I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's like a 3-hour drive.
I only learned a few months ago that when we first started seeing each other, Barry would sleep in his truck. After nights we would hang out.
This is by choice.
By choice.
By choice. I just
Yeah.
liked
I
this.
mean, he's a little guy. It's a big truck.
Yeah. This was the Silverado too, it was
I mean,
It's
and
comfy.
how old were you at the time?
20.
23.
I mean, that's the age to do it. You're not gonna
Yeah.
you're not gonna turn 48 and say, you know what, I'm gonna go live in an eco village with a goat named Larry.
Oh, well, a lot of people did exactly that. So
No, I think that was.
Was that more the demographic? Were there families, or was it mostly
Oh, yeah.
single adults? Or?
Oh no, lots of families, people, kids were born and raised around there. A lot of them homeschooled and stuff.
Just running around.
Yeah.
Being
What did
Why-
you learn? Did you learn anything?
I learned how to build with reclaimed materials. I think I'd be lying if I said I learned much more about the environment or anything. I messed with solar panels and stuff like that. I learned how to make and use a rainwater cistern and shower with a
cistern?
bag.
I don't know that word.
Yeah, it's just like a fancy word for filtered bucket.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, with a faucet on it.
So this is way more puzzling than I originally thought. I just wanted to talk about the
Yeah,
goat.
you thought we were just-
Oh yeah, okay, King Larry. Yeah, the whole thing I was talking about is I got to be there when they were letting him, get it on with the female goats, because they let them all get pregnant and then they sell a bunch of the baby goats, and it's just part of their business. It's just livestock.
How many kids does King Larry have?
That's what I'm saying.
Many.
Oh,
So many.
hundreds, I'm sure.
Because he's just.
Yeah.
Is he the sole
Yeah, they only.
baby provider?
Yeah, there can only be one, I don't know what you call
Male.
it, master goat, king goat.
Master goat.
Oh, King Goat.
King
Yeah.
goat.
I don't know if that's
King
the
Larry the
appropriate
goat.
term, but that's what we could say. I mean, they call him King Larry, so close
Wait,
enough.
so he's the alpha goat,
He's the alpha goat.
but did he have sons?
He did, and they let him have some of his sons, but they generally sell them.
Oh, they
sometimes
adopt them out.
Yeah.
or sell them for product.
I like to think they're just adopting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
they're all
go with
going
that.
to loving 2-parent homes. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? They're all. I
Absolutely.
seriously, when I lived in your neighborhood, I lived in Dogtown on Brock, and I can say that now because I don't live there. But there was a goat. Somebody in the neighborhood had chickens, and another person had a goat, and it was a little black goat with a red dog collar, and he would get out, and I'd go to take my trash out or something, and he'd be on top of my garage, just looking at me like, "What's up, bitch?"
On top of your
My
garage.
God.
He'd be on top of my garage.
How do they climb like that?
No, he could jump. He would seriously. He could fucking. He would jump. He'd be on the alley floor, and he would jump, and then he would launch himself off of the fence, which is 4 feet up or whatever a fence is, and then he'd fucking get on the fucking thing. That's what they do. They climb. They live on the sides of mountains, angles like this.
With hooves, though, I don't understand.
Well, I've never had hooves.
It's incredibly impressive. It really is.
It really is. It seems crazy to me.
So
would
why were we
absolutely
talking
go with
about the
that
goat?
Oh, because you were doing the mic checks and
Yeah.
you went, oh, and it sounded like King Larry.
Oh yeah, King Larry goes blah, 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 all the time. That's just his thing, exactly like that. It
You
sounds
think
like
he's still
that.
out there doing it?
Oh, right
Oh,
now,
for
No
sure.
doubt.
as we
I mean,
speak.
So do you have people that you communicate with that still live there?
Yeah, I've got a couple friends that live up there.
Okay, great. And so, how did you hear about this place?
Oh, my sister and her husband were moving there.
And they live there still?
So they don't live in this eco village anymore. They moved to a nearby community. There's kind of a tri community of these these places, and they live in a different one now that's like really just up the road, a couple miles.
And was there is it a political ideology that they had a falling out over, or what causes you to switch villages?
Oh yeah, I think there was just a lot of people that wanted it to be something that it wasn't.
Like what?
Cult.
Did they want it
That's
to be?
fair.
They wanted it to be more of a spiritual experience.
Yeah, and they really wanted
And other
like,
people were just trying to live more responsibly.
they wanted everyone to be involved and do things exactly the way they did. They wanted people to like give up their
you guys
cars and
notice
stuff.
this because you guys aren't nearly as old as me. But when you get to be an adult, you find that your parents or your partner's parents, they want to do things like everybody all together. Like they want to do things like, wouldn't it be nice if, it'd be like if I was Austin's mom, I'd be like, Austin, wouldn't it be fun if you and Allison and all your brothers and all of their partners, if we all went to Innsbruck together or something?
Or medieval times.
Or if we all
Yeah.
went to medieval times and we had to hang out all together. Like, and it's not really realistic.
It's totally that. Like you're,
But it's
you're
like,
right
it's
on
like,
point.
oh, if you live in this eco village with us, that means you want to come to the potluck every Thursday. And
yeah, they want you to like be involved with what they're doing, and it doesn't matter like if you've got your own thing or your own ideas. And it was just it wasn't growing the way that it could have been because of those ideologies. I think that like the core idea of a sustainability community is totally feasible and could even be like a righteous and good thing.
yeah, I mean,
It's
that's
just-
the thing. The ideals that make it practical to execute something like that, I'm totally on board with. You know what I mean? Like I stress out about garbage to the point where I kind of hoard some of it. Like I had, when I moved out of my mom's house, I had like 6 cardboard boxes full of just paper from like school and stuff that I kept saying, oh, I'm going to take that, just like at work with all the cardboard in the basement. Like I'm like, oh, I'm going to take that to a recycling center, but that's a chore, and so it doesn't happen. So it's like I would love to live in a way that was more environmentally conscious.
Yeah.
But like, so that stuff makes sense. But you're saying that there was some of the extra stuff people were kind of trying to build into it.
Right. And it's just like, hey, not everybody wants to do it your way, and not everybody wants you in their business. Like, well, that's like, especially, my sister and her husband, they're homebodies. They have their cats and their dog, and they're totally happy just like chilling, doing art on their own. Like, they don't.
And that's their thing. So they live in a place like that to pursue art.
Yeah, art and just like living a little more carefree almost.
I told you guys to put your phones on fucking vibrate, and then my Mac Mini is over here dinging. Like, seriously. I seriously said to them, I said, turn your fucking phones on vibrate like an asshole. And now I'm over here dinging like I almost said boomer, but I'm not going to say that. No, my favorite boomers are all gone, I think. So I can talk shit because the ones that are left, Jesus. So tell me about what made you decide to leave?
I miss St. Louis,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
I liked being near my friends. And when I came back here, I moved in with Dee Dee and those guys at Norfolk, and it was just...
And for
was
listeners
just
of the
fun.
show, Barry and I were in a band called Ground Control. Barry was in it for a lot longer than me, and he's talking about Dee Dee. You guys were musical guests on this show, so it's not unfamiliar territory. You can say that, is what I'm saying. We can use names.
Yeah. No, and that was a huge part
So
of it.
you came back, for that whole thing. So I'm just trying to. Okay, so great. Any notes about that?
The Eco Village or
Yeah.
moving... I don't know. It was a really, really cool experience.
Oh, good.
One thing that I thought was really interesting is that a lot of people who lived there chose to be buried there. So there are actually a lot of like singular graves scattered about the land. So I became familiar with those and their whereabouts, and actually kind of cool spots to hang out, as spooky as that sounds. There's actually a really old graveyard where my sister and her husband live now, like right next to their house, and it's like some of the graves are unmarked, and it's like really old. The place they live at is actually an old courthouse, probably hundreds of years old.
Wow.
Yeah, or at least a piece of it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, lots of spooky energy up there,
Wow.
but it's really, really interesting.
That would
This white cup is distracting. I'm falling apart. I guess we can move on. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That was a whole. So
Sorry.
I don't know how much of this we mentioned. So Caddyshack, done. Go support them. Patreon.com/JacobV, done. Go support that. Instagram @JacobVWeekly. Tape, the new album by my band Blinded by Stereo, available on platforms. I just don't know if it made it into the cold open because of the nature of the recording, so I wanted to mention that again. I got the most beautiful 26-pound fresh local turkey from Buttonwood Farms by way of Bulliard's Meat and Provisions. And brother, I'm excited. It's brining right now. It's going in the oven here at 1 a.m. It's a labor of love. And it's out of respect for the bird. He is a thick, triumphant Tom. And we're going to do him justice. Speaking of justice, if y'all let Kyle Rittenhouse go free, I want his mama. Lock that girl up for dropping that baby off with that rifle. Am I right?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, Jesus.
Yep.
Lots of
Agreed.
crazy headlines to get into. We do headlines every week, and I need backup on these. But Rittenhouse has probably been talked to death. Any insights on that? Anybody give a shit? It's just a lose-lose situation, probably, is how we all feel.
Yeah, it's a big one.
I mean, I don't want to throw him in jail for the rest of his life. Or do I? I mean, that's the thing. It's like when I saw it happen, he was so young looking. You know what I mean? That it's,
I mean, 17-year-old kid.
and so it just felt like a societal failure.
I think that's fair.
It's like, what are we doing? Look at that baby with that gun and those gloves on.
It's something that shouldn't have happened at all.
Yeah.
So
And I don't even think legally he could own that kind of gun at 17. I don't know of a state where that's possible. I'd have to look into that.
There were, yeah. I was talking to Barry earlier, and I was saying if this comes up, I don't feel
Barry King?
Barry King.
I know him.
Barry Wayne King Jr.
It's
the
just
second.
such a loaded case and so many factors coming into play, but there were, reasons as to why, for a 17-year-old in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah, why that could have been acceptable.
Yeah.
With the gun that he was
Yeah, I
carrying.
guess that makes sense.
That being said, I think that just brings to light the failures of our system.
Yeah, like I think people think gun control means we want to take people's guns away, but it's like maybe guns are just way too easy
Right.
to get right now. We were talking about this earlier.
yeah.
You got to be safe. Danielle, while I got you,
Yes.
autopsy shows Brian Laundrie died by suicide.
Yeah.
Apparently a single gunshot wound to his own head.
Uh-huh.
And I guess we're closing that case, or what's the deal?
No, I don't. I don't think it's closing. I think that there hasn't been a lot of new information that's come out the past month and a half since his body was found. I think that there's still an open investigation, at least for the charges that the FBI brought about, such as the credit card fraud, but they haven't openly said that they're.
He was only 23?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I don't think it brings closure
To
I think
anything.
we all kind of knew going into it what happened. Either, the elements got him or suicide, and just a lot of questions surrounding the case, and I don't think that we're going to get closure anytime soon.
And what is that about? So, I mean, we're young, so maybe we don't remember, examples of major cases like this throughout history, but it just seems like there's a lot of high-profile legal situations over the past couple of years that people are just okay that we don't ever get the full story on them. Like, aren't we kind of owed that as the public to kind of know that, like, especially when there's, like, murder involved? Like, I mean, shouldn't you tell people, like, what the murderer was up to?
Right. I think that there are a lot of people who feel that way, and I agree. I think that maybe we are owed more information. At the same time, I think that the FBI and Northport Police weren't doing their due diligence when it came to surveillance on Brian Laundrie and taking it seriously when Gabby Petito was reported missing. There was about a week span when the Northport Police said they knew where Brian was. He was a person of interest. He was never announced a suspect. And that just wasn't the case. There was a solid 5 or 6 days, I believe, where the public was told, Northport Police knows exactly where he is, and that just wasn't the case. So I think...
And then Dog the Bounty Hunter jumped in there. That's how I got on the
Right.
case, because I'm an avid
oh my goodness.
dog fan.
And that was just so silly.
ridiculous. I mean, insulting,
Terrible.
really.
Awful.
He's because it doesn't even make sense for him professionally. Like professionally, he goes after people who skipped their court date
Right.
and are at risk of defaulting on their bail money. Right, that's his job. So unless Brian Laundrie had been arrested, which as you mentioned, he wasn't even necessarily called a suspect immediately, and then posted bail, I mean, he wouldn't have anything to do with Dog the Bounty Hunter.
He just wanted to jump into that media circus, and I think because the public, we weren't getting the answers we wanted, and we had this other guy jump into the case. So many people in the beginning, when Dog came into the case, were really hoping that he would do something and, figure out what was going on. That was short-lived.
Yeah.
They were posting there was a photo posted to Twitter of a monster can that they found on some random.
Yeah, I saw the look. He drank this monster right here.
Yeah, it was like the most ridiculous media ploy.
Have you guys watched Tiger King 2 yet?
Oh, some of it.
I have not.
I watched the whole thing twice, and I'm trying to think of a spoiler-free way. It's Dog the Bounty Hunter my love for Dog the Bounty Hunter and Tiger King and Corey Feldman. They're all the same. And Kanye West. I love the work they do, but I not in spite of how crazy they are. You know what I mean? Like I love Tiger King as a documentary. I don't mean I love people that own zoos in Oklahoma. But a couple things that come to mind is. Again, that lack of transparency in the legal system after things happen leaves a lot of questions unanswered. For example, there's intel that comes out about Carol Baskin's missing husband. I don't have to that was owned by the federal government, of course, and released by request, but never. And I won't spoil what it is, but never brought forth any sooner. You had to make a hit documentary about it before they would give up the information, like things like that. Also, I think you guys are all from St. Louis-ish.
I am.
Austin's not, right?
Austin's
I'm
not.
very much not.
Yeah. But so did you ever go to the St. Louis Zoo growing up, Austin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so see, that's my standard for zoos. You know what I mean? I haven't been really to many or any other zoos that I can think of. So when I see these things that they call zoos, but it's just fences, really, that's kind of whack. That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it feels very much just like really haphazard enclosures with very dangerous animals in them that are run by a bunch of tweakers. It's not.
I mean, what is it with the drug thing?
pretty
Those
sad.
people all have visible evidence of prolonged previous drug use, and then they and they're so aggressive. Like the one guy goes to court in Tiger King 2. His name's Tim something, and he's just like cussing at people, and he's talking about like he's a trained army sniper and shit, like in court. Like, I mean, like wild shit like that. Is that healthy to kind of, this media spectacle, like Dog the Bounty Hunter looking for Brian Laundrie, who probably killed his girlfriend. And then just crazy people on TV all the time. Is that a problem?
Yeah, it's definitely a problem.
Do you think it's an issue for us to consume it as the civilian, like as a regular person? Is it a problem that it shows up as often as it does, or is it a problem that we have as much content of it as we do?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. What is your question?
What is your question? I don't know why you said that like that. Yes. So I think bystanders is the word you were looking for.
Sure.
When you called me a civilian, I tensed up a little bit.
Is that the light that those things should be put in?
Right.
It's when it all feels.
It
like
seems
a
like
media
it's
ploy
like
because it
entertainment
is.
at all costs
Yeah.
around here.
It's that people want your clicks. They want people to click on your article.
I didn't know what you said there for a minute.
Click.
Clicks.
Get out of here.
I didn't know. Just the syllable made me freeze up for a minute. I flinched is the word.
I'm sorry.
I do have a counterpoint to that.
Yes.
So, I'm not a big fan of the whole media circus that happens when people come into the spotlight just to get that attention. At the same time, there were multiple cases solved because of the media attention that Gabby Petito's case brought.
Right.
And I was trying to do oh my goodness, excuse me. I was trying to do a a little Google search, and I'm not getting service to bring up the names of.
Do you want the Wi-Fi password?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
I'll
I don't need it right now.
I'll read it on air. I don't give a fuck. These people aren't my neighbors.
But there have been multiple cases closed, bodies found of missing persons because there was so much attention to the Gabby case and so many people were out there looking and keeping their eyes open for any clues. And I think without, the people who came into it when Dog got involved, maybe, and I'm not saying it's the case, but maybe we wouldn't have come across all of these people. There were a good number of cases solved because people had their eyes open.
Really? Mm-hmm. That was something that we talked about a couple weeks ago on the show. They came out that they think they have DNA evidence that points out the identity of the Zodiac killer. And that was one of those things where it's like it could have been multiple people, but you have the public attention looking for this solitary person because as the murders stack up unsolved, right? Mm-hmm. But that, but I never thought about that the other way. That because people were on alert, especially in those areas, that there were other crimes that, like, hey, so I didn't find Gabby Petito or Brian Laundrie, but I did find some bodies, brother. You may want to, you know what I mean? Scrub a dub dub.
I mean, Gabby Petito's body police were led to her body from a YouTube couple that were traveling.
Another one?
Yes, traveling around, and they were asking everyone that was in Moab to, look at their footage. And this couple happened to be driving around with their dash cam. Look back at their footage. It's on YouTube right now. You can look it up. But they saw the van parked.
Yeah, I saw that photo.
On the side of the road, and they found her body about 900 feet away from the van.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, and, that is a massive, massive national park.
Yeah. National parks are notoriously, I guess, advantageous in those situations. Like, there's a lot of murders that take place either in or end up being, dumped in national parks, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so much, dense land, and people, not go into every inch of the land. And I mean, there was also another double murder that took place around the same time frame in the same area. That is still actually unsolved, but it's just to show that something that happens quite often.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just doesn't gain the same media attention that Gabby Petito's case did.
What's always odd to me is that, like, why aren't all of these getting national attention? I mean, really? I mean, because I guess the scope, they're not traveling, across the nation like they were. But, like, it just seems like it's a pretty common problem, and it happens way too often, and we don't talk about it at all, unless it's, Gabby Petito or, Yeah,
I mean, there's not just one reason for it, I think in Gabby Petito's case, she's a young white girl, pretty white girl.
You mean she's fairly white, or you mean she's attractive and white?
People would say she's attractive and white. That's been something that, you can Google right now.
No. I didn't know if you meant pretty as in a little bit white.
Oh, no, she's white.
She's fully white.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, great. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. So that's something that there's been conversation about, that has been a question. Why has her case been
solved or investigated so deeply?
Why are so many people obsessed with it?
Yeah. And how traumatic is that for her young fans?
Oh, yeah. It's really sad. And I think another aspect of that is that she started making YouTube videos, vlogs. Right. And at the point before she went missing, she probably only had 1,000 or so subscribers on YouTube. So a lot of the people that became obsessed with the case weren't there from the beginning. But there is this documentation of her and Brian going cross country and their van life, quote unquote.
Right, their van life, yeah.
Which is a
Barry, can I get a couple of LaCruxes while you're up? I'm sorry.
LaCruxes.
But it's a very
the cold ones are in the door.
Very.
But yeah, so it's like it's like if O.J. Simpson and his late wife had a like a reality show leading up to the murder.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
And it's not
Thanks,
necessarily
Barry.
that they have these active followers, but it's still something you can go on YouTube today and see these videos and see this facade that was put up of this beautiful relationship traveling the country together, which to so many people looks, how could life get better?
So
They're
what do you
traveling
think-
That's something that I didn't think
So,
about
I mean,
also.
I totally get your point about that being a facade, but what do you think happened? Like, why do you think she ended up dying?
I think that, disclaimer, no one knows.
Right,
what
that's- I
happened,
mean-
but from someone following the case and understanding domestic violence and narcissistic tendencies in partners, there is a lot. I mean, there were a couple police body cam videos when they were pulled over from a domestic violence.
Oh, really?
Call-in, yeah. And it is very obvious, at least to me looking in and to a lot of people, that Gabby was a victim of domestic violence. I'm not to say that their relationship was, just him being toxic to her. We don't know what that dynamic was, but it wasn't a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
It was a domestic violence situation, and I think,
You think it got out of hand?
yeah.
You think the death was maybe accidental?
No, I don't think it was necessarily, tonight this is going to happen. But I think when
Maybe it
comes
wasn't
to
premeditated, but maybe it was a passionate,
So-
intentional thing.
Murder can go from unintentional to intentional in a second, if it's manual strangulation, because it takes a lot longer for someone to commit that murder. You have a lot of time to decide whether you're going to continue with that act. So I don't know.
So,
I hate to
if that was the cause of death, was strangulation?
It was, manual strangulation.
Okay, so that clears that up a little bit for me. Well, because me and my brother talked about this a couple weeks ago on the show that there's things in movies where people are in a fight and somebody hits their head and then they're dead, and that wasn't necessarily an intention. I didn't necessarily know that the cause of death was proven to be strangulation. So I mean, again, what a fucking tragedy. Young people
Really
too.
horrible.
I mean,
Really horrible.
just again another lose
No, absolutely. It's
situation.
2 young lives lost and families hurting, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and say I know what happened, but it's
That's
just
why you're
that-
here. We were told you knew what happened. We were told you were close to the case.
No. I was definitely lurking on Reddit for a very long time.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something about those remains like possibly not being his?
There was
Oh, so
well,
many
and that's
people
exactly
think so.
actually that was my question too. Is what do you say to the people that are like, he's still alive, he's hiding under his parents' flower bed, you can fake dental records, they only checked his teeth, blah blah blah. The skeleton was too far decayed for blah blah blah. I mean, is that unhealthy?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting, everybody's conspiracies on the subject. At the same time, I think you have to take into consideration, the Carlton Reserve where he was found is very swampy water, is very humid. A body can decay much quicker than, say, where Gabby was found,
Right.
in Moab. At the same time, I think the reason people are questioning things is the first or second time the parents got involved in the search is, they walked into the park, and shortly after were the ones to find his remains after
Yeah.
they had been searching for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Right.
So I understand people's hesitation
Skepticism.
and skepticism, exactly. But for me, I don't think too much into it
Yeah.
because I don't know. Is that healthy?
Right.
Are we going to really find out exactly, what the FBI knows? To your point earlier of, does the public deserve to know everything that they know? And the FBI doesn't think so. We likely will never know.
Yeah.
Dang.
Great. Well, great. I'm all fired up.
They're with you.
Live update today. All 3 men guilty of murder in the killing of, I'm sorry, is it Ahmaud Arbery? I don't know nearly as much about this case because it took a back seat to the Rittenhouse trial and and then the other cases we discussed. Oh. So this guy, Travis Mcmichael, who shot and killed Aubrey, his father, Gregory Mcmichael, and William Roddy Bryan were found guilty Wednesday. That's today. The judge did not schedule sentencing yet, but he plans to set the date in the coming weeks. The jury in the trial of 3 men for the death of Ahmaud Arbery was made up of 11 white people and 1 black person. That's a weird way to write that sentence. But prosecutors told CNN that they felt that when the jury heard their arguments, they would make the decision to find all 3 guilty, which they did. I'm just trying to see what happened. There was a defendant's claim of self-defense, which simply wasn't viable. Do you know any more about this case than I do? I don't actually know the circumstances of the death. I know one guy in question was filming the whole thing, and then he was found guilty.
7 of 9 counts, I believe.
Yeah, so that's the way this case was tried is different than how we might do it locally. That there were 9 counts, and then they were charged together as a party, and then also separately as individuals, and that didn't seem to matter. They were okay. Open that right in the microphone.
It was near the.
It was right in. It scared me. I jumped.
I am so sorry.
Oh God. Okay.
She handed it to me.
I was trying to get it away from my microphone. I sincerely apologize.
No, you're doing great.
There's a little bit of a win that they were found guilty.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's good.
But here's the thing: I don't know exactly what they were found guilty of because I don't know what happened. I know that there was a murder and that somebody was filming
Multiple
it.
murder counts.
Murder.
Malice murder.
Accessory to murder?
Oh my goodness! I should just pull that up.
Did they all get life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't been sentenced yet, but the minimums I think include life, and the guy that filmed it could potentially end up getting life with the possibility of parole. But I think the other 2 are life. Based off the minimums at the number of charges. All 3 men were convicted Wednesday of chasing and murdering Arbery, a 25-year-old black jogger who was running in their neighborhood.
If I'm remembering correctly, because I was paying attention when it all first happened, and then, as you said, the Rittenhouse case kind of took.
Yeah, it was like when
when
Kyle Rittenhouse left the courthouse, they cut to this case on TikTok, and I was like, who are these guys?
Yeah, and I believe that Ahmaud was, jogging, and there was a home. I could be wrong, but I believe it was a home that was like being built under construction, and he was around the site, and then he, continued his jog, and he was chased down. And probably paraphrasing.
They were all
to a
convicted of
crazy
felony
extent.
murder, so I think that would be minimum life for everybody. And the dad is in his 60s, so that's it for him. They were able to prove careful deliberation by the jury in the case. I thought that was going to lead to careful intent by the murderers. That's why I read that.
So does life mean do they put a number of years on life in prison?
No.
Or
But
is
you
it
get the
until you
possibility
die?
of parole? Well, that's the thing. And also it depends on how many charges and whether you're serving sentences for those charges concurrently or simultaneously. And that hasn't been decided yet because they haven't been, are you whispering?
Oh, talking
is
about the
like-
Wi-Fi password because I'm not going to let you say your Wi-Fi password on your podcast.
I texted it to you. That would be. Oh yeah, Barry's my cybersecurity guru,
Actually, just let me
Yeah, he's
use
the
your
cyber
phone.
ninja.
What am I doing?
and he disapproves of a lot of the security protocols happening. Austin's checking his phone. Just because you walked up to the camera, I thought you were gonna do something cool.
You gotta, to everyone out there, you gotta beef up your security infrastructures, right? This is the new war front. People will take advantage of your small business if you're running on legacy software. If you got bad passwords, that's it. That's it, bud.
If you Google city music, in St. Louis, the what comes up is just a bunch of
I took it down.
It's a bunch of Nigerian hacker slang.
I took
no,
it
it's
down.
Asian. It was Asian characters for a really long time. I don't know what language.
Yes. Oh, yes. If you're looking at, so that still pops up.
Okay, on
At
Google.
the,
Yeah.
at the moment, but the website is experiencing
Dude,
critical
it's
error at this
wild.
point.
Yeah. Ugh.
It'll get fixed.
It'll get fixed, or it'll be a new website. It'll be a whole new thing.
Well, if you need a new website, let me know.
Oh, you do this too? Everyone does websites but me.
I was actually going to bring this up today. Is that if
Please.
Danielle should build a new website?
Go ahead and get started. Bill me when you're done.
Okay.
Because it's fucked up right now. But Black Friday deals, baby. If you need a drum set, daddy, the store still works.
25% off all ukuleles
Mm-hmm.
and acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
And the D drums are what, down to
$2.99. I don't know if we can mention exactly which ones they are because it's such a deal. But you can get a whole drum set for $300, baby.
That's
Christmas is coming.
That's a
Hanukkah.
5-piece
You know
kit.
what? A drum set is a great Hanukkah gift because you can give them one piece of it every day of Hanukkah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And then on the last day, you give them that crash cymbal, and then they're ready to rock. What does a Hanukkah kid play on his first drum set?
What?
What?
Okay, so you're a young Jewish youth, and it's the 8th day of Hanukkah, and you just got the final piece to your brand new drum set from City Music on Watson. What's the first song you want to learn to play?
Is
I mean, is there a
Are you
difference
telling
between?
a joke?
No, I know. I'm really curious. I'm just trying to imagine what is the. That'd be a very specific joke. That's a very detailed
I think
joke.
we were all
Here, I
thinking
got
the
one
same
for
thing.
you. So, a young Jewish kid gets one piece of a drum set every day of Hanukkah, and do you know what song he plays?
what?
What is he? What is he
I
playing?
see. That's the thing. It wasn't a joke, so I don't have a punchline yet. But we should work on that. But okay,
You
so
came up with one.
but what is he? What did you say?
Me?
Did you say which song?
I didn't say a thing.
Oh, I need somebody to pick a song. I'm just trying to imagine.
I mean, the drum fill from "In the Air Tonight" is
That's
a
the best
classic
one.
Example.
Yeah.
I've heard that like 6 times in the past 2 weeks from
Well,
people coming into the store.
Because that Mapex kit has
It's just the right amount.
has
of
the
toms.
exact amount of toms to make it perfect. I think that's why they maybe make them like that still. This is such a weird podcast. It got so somber for a minute, and now you guys are trying not to step into what you perceive to be a Jew joke.
Right.
No.
I'm just curious, if I got a Hanukkah drum set, I don't know what I would play on it.
I was taking a step back because I felt like Barry would be the one to answer that question.
Me?
I
Yeah,
just
you have,
like
you have a lot of songs in your back pocket.
the distinction of Hanukkah and it being, if you were a little Jewish kid on Hanukkah and you get it really just felt like a trap a little bit. I was scared.
So I did some reading while you guys were fumbling with that one. So it looks like Mr. Arbery was running in Satilla Shores when a man standing in his front yard saw him go by, according to the police report. The man, Gregory Mcmichael, said he thought Mr. Arbery looked like a man suspected in several break-ins in the area and called to Travis Mcmichael, his son. According to the police report, the men grabbed a .357 Magnum handgun and a shotgun, got into a pickup truck, and chased Mr. Arbery, trying unsuccessfully to cut him off.
Do you really need both?
Apparently. A third man was also involved in the pursuit, according to the report and other documents. In a recording of a 911 call, which appears to have been made moments before the chase began, a neighbor told the dispatcher that a black man was inside a house that was under construction. You mentioned that. During the chase, the Mcmichaels yelled, "Stop, we want to talk to you." They then pulled up to Mr. Arbery and got out of the truck with their guns. Gregory Mcmichael said the unidentified male began violently attacking Travis, and the two men then started fighting over the shotgun, at which point Travis fired a shot, and then a second later, there was a second shot. The father was a former police officer. Ugh, that's not a good look.
Let me just say, there is video of this encounter, and there's no question he did not just viciously attack these men. If you're being chased by 3 men with guns, what are you gonna do? They chased him down, and I think that was very obvious.
And he
to
was
everyone
unarmed.
in the jury. It was not. They were trying to argue self-defense, and there was
and that's what drives me
no
crazy
argument.
because I grew up shooting guns, and there are aspects of gun ownership that I enjoy or whatever. But then there's this kind of stuff where it seems like people want an excuse to execute otherwise innocent minorities that trespass into their privilege bubble.
It's almost like some sort of sick fantasy.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
I think
it's like they get excited, and here's my thing too, is because there's all these laws that protect use of a firearm in defense of yourself or your property. In some places, like there was a teenager here that got shot by a guy because he was trying to break into the guy's car. But if you're unarmed, and I'm not saying I'm not even saying you shouldn't be shot for robbery. I don't know where I fall on that, because I mean it could turn violent so quick, and there's a self-defense aspect that needs to remain integral. But like in situations like this where the victim, the dead person, was never armed throughout the whole thing, does it even matter that maybe he put up some resistance when the guy with the shotgun who was chasing him in a pickup truck tried to walk up to him?
Also didn't do anything to instigate it in any fashion.
Right, was not proven to be a threat to anybody. Certainly was not the alleged break-in suspect they thought he was.
I'd put up resistance too if I was being chased.
Well,
by
if
3 men.
if you're chasing me and you're trying to cut me off in your pickup truck while I'm out for a jog, and then you get to a point where we're going to be face to face, I obviously can't run anymore. And so I got to try to give you a little shove or something.
There's got to be a little bit of restraint when it comes to, if you own a gun, if you have a gun, no doubt, right? That's an obvious thing.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like in the classes you take when you want your conceal and carry license, for example, you can't express road rage if you're the armed party, right? You have to be the bigger person and say, listen, I can take this all the way if it goes all the way, and I need to do everything in my power to de-escalate. You know what I mean? And chasing somebody in a pickup truck with a shotgun is not de-escalating.
Not at all.
It's also not like the Mcmichaels called the police themselves and said, hey, we're in pursuit of a suspect. We need somebody to come potentially make an arrest. The 911 call was a neighbor. You know what I mean? Why are you guys so bummed out?
Because I would also like to point out that these men weren't arrested for 74 days after the murder.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing too.
I'm bummed out because it's a effed up situation, man.
Absolutely. And that's what we were talking about too, is that like, wouldn't you feel compelled to make an arrest if somebody shot somebody who never had a weapon in the whole interaction?
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
That answer.
Yeah.
Because there's so many cases where charges are never even brought when someone shoots an unarmed party. I mean, a lot of the times because that party is being alleged to commit some kind of a crime or something.
Yeah, I do think that just the whole mentality's got to change. A lot grown. Okay, in Jacksonville.
Here we
Illinois,
go. Here we go. We got him.
The amount of times that I've heard people who own guns saying like, "Oh man, can't wait for somebody to break in here."
Yeah,
Right.
like
And-
there's that fantasy. Like people
Right.
have
Yeah,
this
it's
fantasy
that
of, oh,
fantasy.
brother, they picked the wrong house, daddy.
But it's like this,
Like, I wish they would.
I wish
can't-
they would.
Can't wait to kill somebody in self-defense. I'm
Yeah.
just waiting to murder somebody in self-defense. When the simple of a shotgun will do the trick.
Yeah.
You don't need to do
You don't
that.
actually need to shoot it.
This is the sick fantasy I was talking about.
That's what, yeah. So, I mean, and that's the problem because, and Barry, you and I were talking about this earlier, is that like, I'm not an anti-gun owner, but I'm also not fantasizing about utilizing my ultimate right of self-defense, right? I don't want to shout somebody.
No, you shouldn't. It's terrifying.
And that rhetoric is so public. Like in the media, you see, like 97-year-old woman shoots burglar, and everyone's like, "You go, girl." I'm like, well, I feel bad for her that she had to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
And I feel
right.
bad
Yeah.
for the dead person and their family. And we never talk about, okay, so how can we reduce the circumstances that lead people to those kind of crimes. Like, meaning the burglary in the first place. I mean, no one's interested in talking about what can we do to prevent the guy who got shot and killed from breaking into that 97-year-old woman's house. You know what I mean? That's not a part of the conversation at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Good. Okay, we solved that one.
Yeah, great.
Jeepers creepers, team. Barry,
Yes, ma'am?
you were saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, ultimately, somebody who is truly trained in use of a firearm and is a responsible gun owner should also understand that you don't have to shoot to kill. I mean, even if somebody does break into your house,
Get him in the leg.
yeah, aim for the kneecap. Why?
Yeah. Well, there's also kind of an overly public rhetoric about, well, if you shoot him and you don't kill him, then you're going to be in court with him for the rest of your life, so you better just kill him.
Is that a thing?
People, that's exactly the
Yeah.
mentality. There are people in my family that have harbored, that kind of fantasy that we're talking about, and that's one of the things they talk about is that, you can't shoot somebody and wound them because of that
'Cause then you
exact
gotta
thing.
Deal with all that.
Huh.
I know. That's fucked up, right?
Terrible.
Yes.
I mean, no, there's no, yeah, I felt like you were on the fence about it. That is terrible.
I think people really undersell like the value of a human life.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I don't.
It's not a human, it's a burglar. Yeah.
right.
You're telling me that Bilbo Baggins is not? Well, I guess he's not a human. He's a hobbit.
Oh, you fucked that one all up.
Please, no, go with your analogy, please. I do want to hear
But
it.
Please.
I don't know.
Because that was his role in that excursion to Smaug's cave, was to be the burglar.
Well, I just don't think that people should be smog. I don't think you
Smaug.
should
I
strive.
think it's Smaug.
Smaug. I don't think that you should strive for Smaug, because even after they broke into his lair, he just got mad and went out and killed a bunch of other people. So obviously Smaug just wanted to kill people.
Smaug.
Yeah, Smaug.
Smaug.
Well, and because that's the thing.
Squeeze
Because it's
me.
like, we talk all the time about, how do we prevent these mass shootings from happening? It's like you got millions of people who are harboring this ideology that they want to defend something violently. In the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, they go out and they seek out things to defend with violence that maybe aren't even theirs.
Just indefinitely guarding their plunder of
Yeah.
baked beans and Doritos.
Oh, I do love a Dorito. With a baked bean would be a bop.
That would actually be good.
That'd be good as fuck. I got
Doritos
baked
and
beans
bean
upstairs.
Dip? Give me some bean dip.
Oh, bean
Doritos.
dip on a Dorito?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well,
Way up.
breaking news today, the Rams and the NFL agreed Wednesday to pay $790 million to settle a lawsuit over the team's departure from St. Louis, enabling Rams owner Stan Kroenke and the league to avoid the spectacle of a St. Louis trial next month, just before the Super Bowl at Kroenke Showcase Stadium in Inglewood. So basically, there's been a lawsuit ongoing between the city of St. Louis and Stan Kroenke and the NFL over the Rams moving to Los Angeles, and how that's complicated because of all the tax abatements and all the city funding that went into the dome and maintaining the dome that we're still stuck with. I went to a conference there a couple of years ago. I mean, it's not the best place to be. And apparently, so this is what I heard on the radio today, that if they went to trial, a couple things would happen. One, you don't know if the city would end up getting any money out of them at all, much less $790 million. And then also, then Kroenke and other bigwigs at the NFL would have to be more transparent with their financial doings, and nobody wants that.
Right.
What say you? I need somebody give me something.
I got nothing because I really know nothing about it. I don't follow football at all. I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I don't give a shit about the NFL at
I
all.
don't care about this at all.
I do remember. I don't.
I
know.
do. I do.
Do any of you remember in 2016 when Terry Crouppen, he's a St. Louis-based lawyer,
Yeah.
he pulled out a...
He's good friends with my neighbor. He was at the block party here for Halloween.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, he pulled out money for a Super Bowl ad for the 2016
to
Super
bash
Bowl. The Rams for
yeah,
leaving.
and
yeah.
Stan Kroenke specifically by name. I remember.
Yeah, he did.
And good, fuck that guy. His hairpiece is fucked up. That mustache is creepy. You know what I mean? And you can't just be a billionaire and just treat people like shit and take advantage of a tax base that wanted you to play football in their town or whatever. I take it personally because I'm from here. You know what I mean? I remember when the Rams won the Super Bowl when I was a little kid. There was a giant parade downtown, and we had big parties. It was great. There was a time where football here was good.
Yeah.
Didn't last very long, but so I'm sure. Here's the problem though. And this is what I really need your help with: is what do we do with $790 million in restitution as a municipality?
I mean, the roads are shit.
The roads. Roads.
I was gonna say that we.
Have you been downtown in the last 10 years? You're gonna start with the roads?
They're bad.
I think we
I'm
should.
not from here. Okay, give me that.
I'm not from here. I'm not from here.
Let's take that money and screw football. Let's make an NBA team. Right?
Oh, sure.
Oh my God! 35% of the payment will be awarded to the attorneys representing St. Louis, and
Jesus Christ.
$276.5 million to the attorneys who didn't even go to trial.
35%.
That's what I'm looking at right here.
That's
Wow.
bonkers.
How do you do that?
That's criminal.
How do you do that as an attorney? Say, Barry, your dad's a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Would your dad, if your dad was defending a public space like the city of St. Louis, my great grandfather built the arch. Okay, I'll kill somebody. 30. Would your dad take? I mean, is it really always a percentage? Would your dad really want $276 million of the settlement?
I don't. we.
Question.
Yeah, that is a good question.
I don't know if I can speak on his behalf.
Call him.
Why not?
If it was my dad, I would enjoy that.
No, well, that's fucking crazy.
No, that's insane.
It's too
Way
much.
too much.
And it sounds like it was
Even as a
it was planned
percentage,
that way.
even
from
as
the
a
beginning,
percentage, even if that was their percentage of all of the settlements on all of their cases professionally, I would put a cap on it.
No, for sure.
Like on Bandcamp, they take 30% or something of your revenue until you hit a certain amount to pay for your membership, and then you get all of it, right? That's kind of how things are supposed to work, right? Like cover your overhead, and then like I remember this being the conversation on the news with the lawyer who represented the lady who got burnt by the McDonald's coffee, and that's why they have all the warnings on the coffee now. You remember her?
Yeah.
And burnt her whole lap area all up. She was really burnt by that coffee, and she was awarded like $70 million, and her attorney got like $13 million.
Yeah, 35% commission on anything is too much.
It's way high.
It's not too much, but it's necessarily. I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
It's way high. When you're
so
settling
high.
a case, you're not even going to trial. They can go out to lunch every day. They have no hang-ups for the next fucking few months. They were supposed to be in court all next month. God damn it, Barry.
Me?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just fun to say.
I haven't even showed you that video yet.
So the Rams argued that when St. Louis declined to make $700 million in improvements to the team's stadium, a lease provision was triggered that enabled the team to end the lease and leave town. Okay, so I guess that makes a little... So, again, what is with all the money? $700 million in improvements?
Improvements to what?
The stadium.
The roads.
The dome.
Well, but we don't have a football team.
No. But this is why the Rams left, or this is why they say they left. It's because we didn't. They hit us with an unimaginable number, $700 million. You got to dump $700 million into this $1 billion dome you already built us, or we're leaving.
And they still left.
The NFL asked the St. Louis Circuit Court to throw out the lawsuit, to order private arbitration, and to move any trial out of St. Louis. The court declined. Jesus. The settlement closes the case for St. Louis, but not for the NFL. Before NFL owners approved the Rams' move, Kroenke signed an indemnification agreement that obligated him to pay the costs, including legal fees and other litigation expenses, to defend any challenge to a move. Ugh. It cost $5 billion for Kroenke to build SoFi Stadium, $550 million paid by Kroenke as a relocation fee, and $790 million for the Rams and the NFL to settle the St. Louis lawsuit.
Just is the stadium still there?
Yeah, the Dome.
Okay.
The Edward Jones Dome.
What
Or I think it's called the Dome at America Center now.
What do they do with it?
They have conferences and shit. The Rolling Stones played there.
Yeah. We were just there.
Guns N' Roses played there a couple years ago.
Yeah, we went to
Oh.
Rolling Stones. They still
But
have
the-
events.
Wait, so they did football and hockey there? Just different.
No. Hockey is at the what used to be the Savvis Center, then the Scott Trade. I think now it's the Enterprise. Mm-hmm. It's the Enterprise Arena or something. And then there's also Chaffetz Arena, which looks a lot like both of them when you're inside of them.
All these arenas look the same. I don't know. I'm
When
lost.
every time I'm in Chaffetz, I'm like, am I at Chaffetz or am I at Scott Trade? Where am I?
Wow.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is a St. Louis thing or just a fucking towny thing, but we always call shit by what it used to be called. Like we have that
Oh, for sure.
amphitheater where the Foo Fighters played.
Riverport?
That's the thing. We all call it
We call
Riverport.
it- yeah.
But it hasn't been
Verizon
River.
Wireless Empathy.
It's
It's
seriously-
Hollywood Casino now.
Yeah.
Or is it something else?
I don't even think it's Hollywood Casino anymore.
No.
They
The
changed it again?
amphitheater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Maryland Heights.
Right. It's like it was the Hollywood Casino
Yeah.
amphitheater.
Oh, now it's something else?
It was Verizon before
Oh.
that.
And
Most
and then it was Riverport before.
it was it used to be
Yeah.
Riverport.
Okay.
You can still get Riverport shirts at STL Style, who sponsored our Patreon
It-
release by selling me some T-shirts on camera that morning.
It's still Riverport.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what we do. So like, and I remember playing NHL '96 on my Sega Genesis, and when they would go to St. Louis, it would say Savvis on it, which is funny because even
Yeah.
then it hadn't been the name.
On your what? Your
My Sega Genesis.
Oh.
I had
was
NHL
born in
'96.
1996.
I was a child. I was a small child. It was my uncle's
sure
Sega
was.
Genesis. I still have it upstairs. We could play that right now. I don't think I have an adapter to stream it though. Can you stream Sega Genesis? That would be a series of adapters, I think.
We should figure that out.
Should we do that next time?
I'm so pissed. I don't even want to read the fucking rest of this. But apparently, yeah, fucking $300 million to the attorneys.
That's insane. That's just.
And so then we only have like $550 million. And then, but no one's going to, I don't know exactly what they're going to use it for.
Poaching trips.
I mean, they could put it in a fund for maintaining the dome because that's a big concern. Is like the maintenance on the dome itself is like $1 million a year or something crazy like that.
Jeez.
And maybe
Not
more.
surprised, but
Yeah, it's climate controlled. I mean, can you imagine? In this economy? Somebody said we should talk about the bees.
Oh, yeah. I think that was me.
What's
Couple
going on with
days.
the bees, Barry?
You know, I feel like people would expect me to talk about like how the bees are dying, but really I just want to know how those fuckers can fly.
Bees are insects with wings.
That's true.
what?
They're closely related to wasps and ants.
Bees, according to like
The B movie.
well, the bee movie,
To Bee
of whom the
Do you
main
like-
character's name is Barry.
Do you like jazz?
Bees shouldn't be able to fly, apparently.
Why have I not heard this rant before?
I-
We
I don't-
live together, Barry.
I don't know. It came up just the other day, and I just figured I'd save it for the podcast.
Okay.
I think their wings are too
Continue.
small to carry.
I'd love
quote,
to know.
their
So you're
Thought
saying that they got those
processes.
big old booties and those little bitty
Yeah,
wings and it
yeah.
doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense?
Yeah,
It's
they
just
shouldn't be
gas
able to
lights and
fly.
tiny
Like, there's no
wings.
good reason for them to be able to fly, but alas, they do.
They do.
Why is that?
I don't know.
You want me to Google it?
Yeah, this is-
You-
Oh,
I have,
yeah. Here. I'll look
I have
it up.
all this shit going on. Look at what I'm doing over here. I'm producing this whole production.
Yeah. How many tabs you got open?
Only a couple, but I got 4 monitors, dog.
Oh, that's fair.
Living the life.
Oh, best light. This is a really bad motherfucker over here. This is a LG. Like the refresh rate on this is ridiculous.
Well, it works at least. I mean, it's doing the do.
No. It's really it's doing a really good job. Is what I was trying to say.
Is that what you play Apex on that?
Yeah, I play Apex on these two here. It depends on if I'm doing the PC or the PlayStation.
I'm seeing a quote on here saying, according to all known laws of aviation, there is no way that a bee should be able to fly. Its wings are too small to get its fat little body off the ground. The bee, of course, flies anyways because bees don't care about what humans think is possible.
Barry
Is that a scholarly article, Barry?
I was gonna
Well,
say,
that's
Barry King. What is your source?
Is that peer
That's the
reviewed? That
first
sounds like
line
BuzzFeed.
from the movie.
Forbes.
All right.
Oh,
Go
okay.
to
We
a-
always bitch about Forbes on this show.
No, let's go to a.
Forbes is a fucking,
Science-
it's yuppie propaganda, dog.
Give me
You know who
some
reads
solid
Forbes?
sources.
Hans
and then we
Gruber
can
read
talk
Forbes.
I'm just kidding. Forbes is actually talking about how bees can fly. They're just quoting the bee movie.
I gotta say, I watched B-Movie relatively recently.
Really?
And
Did you put that on with your girlfriend?
yeah, actually, yes. Yeah. And so for the little bit that we watched,
Austin's move when he meets a girl is to put on a movie.
oh yeah,
He puts on a children's movie.
You know what? That's not a bad.
The
move.
first time him and Allison hung out, he put on Wall-E.
It was Wall-E. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And well, the pretense, there's more to that, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because anyway, I watched B-Movie with Allison, and it is really, it's like good, man. I mean, the problem with it is that every single line is a joke. Every single line's a punchline.
It's Jerry Seinfeld.
Is a B pun because it's Jerry Seinfeld, and not all of them land. But the fact that it exists is funny by itself. The name B-Movie is hilarious because it's not an A movie; it's a B movie.
Right.
You know.
Right. Got it.
It's like the whole premise is wild because bees aren't actually mistreated. Like like beekeeping is pretty humane. You know, like
You know my friend with the horses I told you about?
maybe.
Yeah, the girl with the horse.
The horse girl.
Definitely.
You can say that.
She her dad is a beekeeper, local
Yeah.
bees.
Why does that make sense?
That a horse girl would be the daughter of a German beekeeper.
I didn't know it was German.
Oh, he's German as fuck. He's a resident alien. He's not even a citizen.
Just sounds right. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it sounds like a good life.
That makes perfect sense. I mean,
So what about him?
So
who are you smoking over there?
this here is beekeeping is pretty humane. Beekeeping is pretty humane, is what you were saying. That's
Yeah.
where we were.
Yeah.
And in the movie, their beekeepers are depicted as scary figures.
Right. It's this whole thing where it's like, oh, they're stealing our honey. You know what I mean? Like that's my.
That's
my
a pretty good Jerry Seinfeld.
Thank you. I
That was
appreciate that.
solid.
You know,
That was really good.
You know, the universe.
Damn solid.
The universe is a simulation and it recycles details for optimal efficiency all the time. My wife's first celebrity crush ever was Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, and this is okay. So this is an example of that.
Yeah, I can support that.
Thank you, Danielle.
Yeah.
I'll let her know.
Yeah.
I'm still not sold we're in a simulation, but you know, whatever.
That's because it works for you.
Yeah, it's fine for me.
Yeah.
I'm fooled by it. I have
Yeah,
not yet.
you're happy.
Yeah. I have not
Ignorance is
shattered.
bliss. You're eating the steak with Agent Smith right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you excited about this new Matrix movie?
I don't know anything about it. I haven't seen a trailer. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
it's gonna be
anything
good.
about it. I don't
I
know.
like Keanu's hair.
Yeah.
I like that the director is coming back post transition.
Mm-hmm.
I like. They're showing the original Matrix in IMAX for the first time next month.
I saw it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did see that.
There are two theaters locally where we could see it. It's Chesterfield or Edwardsville.
Ooh.
The Galaxy 10 in Chesterfield is worth the drive. It's a good time.
Oh yeah.
I saw Star Wars Episode 3 there when it came out.
That's awesome.
Okay.
And that was lit. My uncle died laughing like out loud in the theater when Darth Vader took his first breath as Darth Vader. At the end where they prop him up. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if he was laughing because he thought it was funny or he was laughing because he was like rock and roll, brother, because he saw the original one in '77 or whatever. Because but that's what I remember is him cackling. Darth Vader sits up. It's very somber and dramatic. He takes his first breath as Darth Vader, and this
And he's holding his
fucking
hands
boomer
up
next
like
to me
this.
goes,
It's like really odd.
I so bad wanted Jar Jar Binks to like low key be the bad guy in the new ones.
Yeah.
No, I'm holding out hope. If they fire one more
A New
director, the next guy is coming in with fucking Jar Jar the Sith Lord.
Right.
I love the videos where you see like they break down like there's no way Jar Jar could have dodged this bullet if he wasn't a Sith Lord. Why are we talking about that?
I don't know, but there is a really nice video that I found, and it was the French version of that no scream on YouTube, and the no in there is just it's wild. It's like
It's a different delivery.
It's a whole different no.
What's it sound like?
I'm not gonna do it.
Why not? I think you should.
So the
too.
normal one is like a scream like no.
It's like no, you know, like it's no. That's like,
So how's the French one go?
very much like no. Like it's like, like I would say that you should look it up. I mean, you should absolutely play that. Because,
Here, can you find it on your phone and send it to me?
yeah, absolutely, I can do that. We can. Yeah, go ahead, talk about something else. I'll find it.
Yeah. So the bees, Barry. Are you worried about the bees? I thought we were going to talk about saving the bees.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I love that Mark Wahlberg movie, The Happening.
oh my gosh, remember when he talks to the fake plant
Yeah.
and he exclaims that he goes, "I am currently talking."
Because he didn't know it was fake at first.
Synthetic plant.
And he was scared and he was cornered and he felt like he had to say, listen, I'm not the problem here. I respect you. But then he realized it was a fake plant. And I felt like that movie he talks about bees at the beginning a little bit, but was really more just about nature in general. But I feel like that movie was trying to get us to be more respectful of.
Yeah, honestly, the movie was gold. I mean, much better than The Last Airbender if we're just rating M. Night Shyamalan movies.
What are we talking about? Wait, what movie are we talking about?
The Happening.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, basically the plant.
M. Night Shyamalan did The Last Airbender?
Yeah, that was
Oh,
M. Night
yeah,
Shyamalan.
I'm zoned.
But wasn't it? It was a live action interpretation of the cartoon, right?
Precisely.
But it was M. Night Shyamalan?
Yeah, that
This
was
is
M.
what
Night.
I'm talking about.
Oh, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah. The live action adaptation was an M. Night Shyamalan
The
production.
really, really, really bad one. Really bad.
Oh, so bad.
Yeah.
I'm holding out hope for this new Netflix live action series,
A
though.
whole new universe
Ye-
for Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah, I
It's
think
like
it
a
could
whole
be.
new thing.
It could easily be gold.
Really?
I loved the cartoon. The original was so good. We started the first
The
season.
French version of Vader's No is way better. Here, I think we get a comparison here. I don't know if this is going to work.
I whispered to Barry. What are we talking about?
So that's okay.
Okay, that was pretty solid.
Yeah, that's the English one. French.
Why did you?
Austin,
nail
you were
both
I
of
can-
on point.
those?
You're
You
totally on
did.
point with that.
I can only assume.
Did.
I can only assume that it's one of those things when you're doing the dub as a voice actor, right? When you're doing the dub for someone who has an iconic voice like James Earl Jones, who does Darth Vader, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's more respectful in that demographic to not try to imitate it and to just deliver it with the emotion that's natural to you or whatever. But yeah, that's fucking ridiculous.
Dude, isn't that insane?
That's so funny.
Um.
That's like when I was a kid, especially. I don't know if you guys caught as much of this, but on like TNT or TBS or USA, they would show movies during the day, right? And they would have to edit them so that they would edit out the foul language.
Right. The foul language.
And then so they would sometimes, instead of just bleeping it, which I think I prefer, they would replace it with like a bad overdub of somebody saying something else. Like
Oh, yeah.
instead of yippee-ki-yay motherfucker at the end of Die Hard 2, he would say yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
or like.
But there's no Mr. Falcon in the movie. Like it's
yippee-
not a character in the movie.
Yippee-ki-yay, dummy.
Yeah, exactly. Or in The Big
I'm
Lebowski,
actually good.
they would. Can I get a LaCrux?
You want a Lucrece?
Yeah, the cold ones are in the door. Watch it. You don't look before you walk around. This is a hazardous environment. This is like the Trunchables' basement stairwell in Matilda. Like it's just mops hanging from the walls.
Danielle, there are no Trulies left.
That is a-okay.
You want a Zwicky?
What?
A Zwickle?
No, I'm good.
You want a LaCroix?
I'll take one of them.
Yeah, they're cold.
Hell yeah.
No sodium.
A LaCroix.
The best.
LaCroix.
Yeah, you can't have sodium.
No.
I'm against it. I won't stand for it.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you.
the universe does not want us to finish this conversation about the bees. Barry, are we protecting the bees, or what do we need to do?
Currently, we're not. I just think that we need to.
We do need to protect the bees.
We do need to protect the bees. It's important they pollinate our plants.
Is there
You know, and if
something-
there's no more plants, then there's nothing
Austin, do you believe
for the omnivores to eat. And if the omnivores can't eat, they starve and they die, and then there's nothing for the carnivores to eat.
Is there an is it like, because I'm not well read.
Austin doesn't believe in the threat?
So yeah, well, it's not that
So
I don't
here's what's
believe,
at
I just
risk.
Don't know what's at risk. Thank you.
Is bee population is falling because of environmental factors that inhibit successful, thriving bee colonies.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, and if all the bees die, then we're all gonna fucking die because no one else is gonna pollinate our plants.
Right.
Is the perspective I've heard.
Got it.
Yeah, they're some of the most important pollinators on the planet. They're actually pretty prime in this earthly ecosystem.
The pollinators is a good name for a band.
Pollinators.
The
Oh, I'm in
pollinators.
bands right now with worse names than that.
That's what I'm saying.
Pollinate. Wow.
Pollinators is okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. I just think it's sad. I don't know. I think I just brought it up the other day because I thought it was worth mentioning.
But isn't it like also like doom? Like if the bees die, like I mean, we're gonna live in a hellscape.
yeah, I think so.
That's a whole thing in the B movie.
That's what I
much,
was.
yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, the message of B movie was what?
Well, that we need bees, I think.
Right.
But the conflict is non-existent, and so, but the thing is, they win the court case, and the humans give back all the honey. So now, bees aren't making honey anymore, and in that they're no longer pollinating in flowers. So it ruins all of agriculture because they're no longer pollinating shit.
This is all in the movie.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Really?
It's
That's
a,
how
I mean, I should
Austin
have.
is the-
This is why I hated
I
episode
just
1.
watched it.
You're the B movie advocate over here.
Yeah,
You're
it's
just
pretty
bringing in these really solid points from the B movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's like my whole thing.
I like in that movie where he finds all the honey in the grocery store and he's mortified and he says, "Ray Liotta's signature blend."
Right. Yeah.
Oh no, Ray Liotta Reserve maybe.
I don't remember exactly what it
It was something like that. It's hilarious.
It's funny. He brings Sting up to the stand. He's like, I don't appreciate this appropriation of bee culture. You know, like, because his name's Sting.
That's another good Jerry right there.
Back in 2017, Netflix revealed their statistics drawn from users' usage of their streaming platform, and there was one account that for some reason streamed the B movie 357 times in 1 year, meaning that they watched it
They have
every damn
Yeah.
They
day.
have it.
All but
That
8
means they have a
days.
kid that liked it and was small enough that they could just put it on
Yeah.
and
when
satiate.
I was young, I watched Pinocchio every day.
Oh, I watched
So I
Spice
can
World.
relate.
I seriously, there was one summer where I watched the movie Spice World on VHS tape every day.
I would watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze.
Oh
Yeah,
my!
I-
This isn't an
Austin!
odd use case.
I
It
saw that
happens.
movie. I saw Secret of the Ooze in the movie theater at the Crestwood Mall, which is now a fucking crater.
It's now just a crater.
It's
Wasn't-
seriously right there. You would pull in right there next to us, and you would drive up to. It said Dillard's, but that was also the entrance to where the movie theater was.
Yeah.
Secret of the Ooze is awesome.
Yeah, it was really good
I gotta
at the
watch it.
24-inch screen at the Crestwood Mall Cinemaplex. Look at that cat.
I'll watch that sometime.
We should. That's the kind of shit I want to put on that TV behind the desk at work. Like we just need to put on like
Oh yeah.
Secret of the Ooze.
Wasn't there was a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie? I think it was the first one.
I saw that at
with,
Crestwood Mall
with
also.
the Ivan Ooze character, right?
Yeah,
Is that in any way?
Ivan
Yeah.
Ooze? I don't know nothing about that.
Oh,
yeah.
I've
that
never
was.
been a Power Rangers kid.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
you missed it. You
I
missed
know.
it. It was
Yeah,
great.
I sure did miss it. My little
Go
brother,
go Power Rangers!
My little brother watched.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I
Little
don't
brother
remember.
came to America at 14 years old and then watched every single iteration of every whatever Power Rangers, all of the Power Rangers ever.
Who?
My little brother Christian.
Oh, Christian.
Yeah. He just spent all of his free time in front of the TV on Netflix watching every single Power Rangers that was on Netflix.
I mean, Power Rangers was lit.
You know what
Is
was
lit.
crazy? I watched the Toys That Made Us on Netflix, and the Power Rangers episode is really good. And in the deposition or whatever, the discovery for that episode, they talk about how everything that happened in the first season, probably several seasons of the Power Rangers in costume, was from the original Japanese version of the show. and they just shot everything out of costume with the American actors.
Huh.
Right.
Because you can't see their mouth, so you could just replace the dialogue in all the fight scenes.
Yeah, I heard that. That's a real thing. That's wild.
Isn't that nuts? How creative.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice use of resources.
Power Rangers.
This is the goofiest episode of the show. We promised Austin that we would talk about Save the Bees to wrap that up. We promised Austin we would continue our conversation, at least for a minute, about Atlantis. I don't remember exactly where we left off.
I just know nothing about it.
Oh my God, you're missing
Barry,
out.
take it away.
Yeah, let's hear it, Barry.
So you know the legend of the lost city of Atlantis, at least vaguely from culture.
Yeah, I saw that Michael J. Fox movie where he was shaking behind the microphone and.
Jesus. Take it easy. See, this is how the universe recycles details. I was thinking about a now 10-year-old Tom Segura joke about how he didn't want to watch the Michael J. Fox show because he didn't want every 5 minutes to be a Parkinson's joke. I was just thinking about that on my way to work this morning, and now you're talking about Michael J. Fox. How does that happen?
Yeah, and Parkinson's, yeah.
So, okay, so you know that Atlantis, there's the legend is that it's the lost city of Atlantis, and it's like...
Lost because, we can't find any remnants, but we've discovered writings. People have talked about it. Plato talked about it.
Plato, brother.
Yeah, Plato talked about it. But
I'll
even
name drop Plato right now.
But Plato had never been. He was only iterating what he had heard from other people. So it's kind of like this huge game of telephone on.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
What was Atlantis? Where was it? And I'm gonna go ahead and shout out the Bright Insight YouTube channel because I honestly think it's glorious.
That's what we both watched before our conversation last week.
The amount of times Barry's put this on for me to watch.
I think it's really interesting.
So,
and he doesn't propose anything as fact. It's pretty much all up in the air, free for people to decide for themselves what they think until further evidence is disclosed.
Wikipedia classifies it as a fictional island mentioned in an allegory on the hubris of nations in Plato's work. How do you say that? Is it Timaeus and Critias? I don't know.
Timaeus and Critias, yeah.
Yeah, great.
That's right.
Hey, that's not so bad. I did pretty good. Wherein it represents the antagonist naval power that besieges ancient Athens, the pseudo-historic embodiment of Plato's ideal state in the Republic. Blah, blah, blah. They fall out of favor with the deities and are submerged into the Atlantic Ocean. Now, if you compare that to legend or lore or spoken word of ancient Egyptians talked about the sea people as these refugees whose home had been destroyed by flooding, and then they just kind of bred into their civilization and they're lost there. Barry?
Okay, so...
Barry, back to you.
Okay.
And now we're going back to Barry King in the field. Barry, where is Atlantis?
So my opinion, and it definitely derives from... this YouTube channel.
Yeah, the bright side.
Bright Insight, yes.
The bright side.
Is that a strong possibility for the location of this ancient city of Atlantis could be the Rashat structure, which is located on a pretty prominent geological feature in the Sahara's Adrar Plateau.
Yeah, so it's in the Sahara. It looks like a cinnamon roll.
Yes, it does look like a cinnamon roll. It's eerily similar to the way that it was described in Plato's writings, where you can actually find this drawing of what it would have looked like. And it was basically two circular islands surrounded by rings of water. And then there's an opening into the ocean.
Okay. No, go ahead. Sorry. Do you think?
On the west side of Africa. And it's just weird. Like, there's a bunch of salt there. So it's kind of like, okay, this area...
Massive salt deposits on top of the sand as if it had all been under the ocean at one point.
Yeah.
So how BC is what we're talking about, typically?
Well, this is a part of the problem that we talked about in last week's episode that you didn't listen to because you don't love me.
Yeah,
and... Because here's the thing,
I'm a patron.
You are a patron. That's what earned you a guest host spot on this show, and I'm so happy you're here. But one of the things that is kind of the problem is in any form of academia, you're going to have resistance to heavy revisions to the common understanding, meaning ancient Egyptologists, right, or just historical Egyptologists, right, they're not ancient themselves necessarily, they don't necessarily want to entertain that, for example, the Sphinx is much older than the pyramids, though there does, happen to be some evidence that perhaps the Sphinx was there and then the pyramids were built around it. Maybe the Sphinx is much older, which is something that we could get into.
Well, and it's because there's all this water erosion on it. It's supposedly enough water erosion to place it up to like 20,000 years old, or
So it's
something nutty like
possible-
that.
There was an ocean there.
Yeah, so it's possible
It was underwater.
yeah, that Atlantis flooded 20,000 years ago.
And to say flooded is honestly quite the understatement, considering that
It was literally swallowed up into the ocean.
there were giant, and well, there are visible giant flood ripples across the Sahara.
Which is what makes it look like a cinnamon roll. It's like a swirly, almost like a drain.
Here's my devil's advocate thing.
Here we go.
Here
we go.
It's not that I want this to be wrong or that I'm rooting against you in any way, right? It's that it's just that
It's not personal.
No, not at all. And I'm just asking the question is that it's like, well, how well documented is stuff like say Atlantis being around circa 20,000 years ago, right? Then that Plato would have heard about it in his lifetime when Plato was around how long ago?
That was like the 1300s.
Right. So
Right?
yeah.
So Plato was around the 1300s?
No, wait.
No way.
No.
I'm asking.
No.
I don't
Plato
know.
was like ancient Greece.
What?
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Y-
Who
y'all-
am I thinking of?
I feel like Plato was
Holy
BC.
fuck.
BCE.
Yeah, 428 or
I
to 347.
I thought it was
BC.
1937.
Okay.
Okay, so he died 348 years after the birth of Christ.
Okay. So,
He died in the year. Oh, this is where I get
No,
the
but
three from.
no,
He-
before the birth of Christ. BC.
That's what I said.
That's before
You said
Christ.
that. That's fine. Doesn't matter. No, you're good.
BC is what that means.
Or if you preferred the
That's so weird.
BCE before
It's
Common
so
Era,
weird that
whatever floats your boat.
they mention it's 348/347, so vaguely 348 years before Christ.
Okay.
And that's if we even can all agree on when that actually happened. So these numbers don't really matter.
Well, that's the thing, right?
But the
So-
348 is, I was picturing 1348, and I abandoned academia completely. So I don't claim to be a guy. I don't know things.
Anyway, Austin.
So
Well,
Plato's around much after we're suggesting that Atlantis could have existed, right?
Yeah, thousands of years.
And the thing is, all that could be totally oral speech, or not oral speech, sorry, oral storytelling, right? And yada yada. But that's kind of where my apprehension is.
no, that's fair. That there is no actual written evidence. There's writings, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was there. These are secondhand resources.
At least.
Yeah, at least, yeah. But the big argument is that the reason that we can't find this evidence is because all of it was erased by enormous cataclysm. Because if a flood of this magnitude happened, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with Randall Carlson, but
Of course.
he's kind of one of the big experts on these matters, mainly on asteroidal impacts.
Asteroidal?
Impacts. Yeah, asteroidal impacts and floods. And
I
floods
dare you to say
caused
that
by
again.
Asteroidal implants.
asteroidal impacts and floods. Asteroidal implants.
I'm picturing like a big, I'm picturing like a giant meteor, but it's just a big breast implant. Like it's just a big,
Guys,
it's a big water balloon
I mean,
tone it down.
coming to Earth.
we don't know. I mean, for all we know, the contents of this massive asteroid could have been mainly silicone. So,
Nice, good stuff.
come on, that was fun.
I don't know. What form would that be in, though? Would that be?
Gives him a death look.
But if a flood of this magnitude happened, it would have ripped away the bedrock. So completely dragging any remnants of this civilization across the northern plain of Africa and into the ocean. It would be totally gone. And if anything was left over, it would not be near this Rashat structure, but somewhere between that and the ocean. And
Oh, the Eye of Sahara.
the Eye of the Sahara, yes. And there's a bunch of newly disclosed FBI documents that seem to reference this Rashat structure as being some sort of geomagnetic anomaly on the planet, and it's there with a bunch of other places. Keep it going. So sorry, you gave me. It looked like a wrap it up to me. I'm sorry.
No, this would be wrap it up. This is keep it going.
Keep it going. All right, I got you.
I gotta urinate as well.
Okay, I'm gonna go first.
All right, yeah, you go first.
Two.
Okay, fantastic.
Oh,
Fantastic.
man.
I'm watching you.
Atlantis, the Ice Age.
Yeah, let's
Yes,
go.
yes.
I'll keep him going.
Okay.
I got this. Continue, sir.
But these documents are very eerie in the way that they're documented, because there's huge chunks of this document that are currently redacted, whited out, for no apparent reason. It almost seems that mid-sentence, exactly when they're about to tell us the purpose of these studies, that blank.
Well, is it for no apparent reason?
No reason that mattered. There is no given reason. So that's what's weird to me.
Exactly. There's something there.
There's something.
Wait,
Spooky spook.
Exactly.
I'll agree with that.
And I think that alone raises questions. Like, in the fact that this possible location of some supposedly advanced civilization for the time, it happens to be a spot that is also a geomagnetic anomaly. Like, who knows? What if somehow that is was their power source or something? What if they had technology, but it was different? It wasn't silicon based. It was based on gravity. I know this is.
Oh, and here is where I check out.
See, and this is where I lose everybody. I understand that. I'll accept that. That's fine.
No.
What's going on? Gravity?
Gravity's crazy, man. John Mayer, insane guitarist. Yeah.
Gravity!
No, I do appreciate listening to your perspective. I think it's really interesting.
I do understand the holes. I definitely do.
Holes?
I'm not proposing anything as fact.
Okay,
Great
so
movie.
what's the hole?
You go ahead.
Wait, I missed the hole, though.
Yeah, wait, repeat that last part.
I was
Okay,
peeing. God!
The holes?
I missed.
What,
there's
what
a.
special, I used
What,
my fingers.
what power source?
Yeah, power source, whatever the hell.
I guess. Okay.
Because you're talking about silicone. Not silicone.
So maybe it not being silicon. So that's what our technology is based on. It's microchips. It's computers. We build these complex systems with gold laid on top of silicone. Obviously it's more complex than that, but that's how we've built this immense technological infrastructure to our society. What if before us there was a time where people became advanced, but differently, according to the resources that they had near them? I think that it's fair to say that civilizations grow in accordance with the materials that they are surrounded by.
For sure.
So what if they just had access to different materials,
So
and
this
we're not
is-
100% sure of
gravity.
these?
So the
Apparently.
thing is, that's kind of the mainstream understanding of Atlantis is it's like a fictional previous advanced civilization. Like there was a Disney movie called Atlantis, and they had
Awesome movie.
It was underwater, and they had magical technology, right? And so that's not necessarily the part we want to focus on. I think that must be the hole we identified, is they had gravity powers.
Well, and I don't believe I don't believe it was magic. I think that. Okay, for instance,
But they could have
say
had
there's
developed
a
technology that thousands of years later we would recognize as organic material and not necessarily something else. And so it's possible that if the whole place was lost, that a lot of that development was lost with it. Because we're
Right,
talking
yeah.
about pre-ice age, right?
Well, it would have been right before the Younger Dryas, or after the Younger Dryas. Hold on, you're familiar with.
I was hoping you'd go there.
Okay, yeah.
What about the flood myth?
The flood myth.
I don't think the flood myth is a myth.
I think it was a flood, baby. I think they put 2 lions and 2 elephants on a bus.
Yeah, they put them on a.
I
On
also
a-
think
on
there
an
could
ark?
have. I also think there could have been more than one flood. Okay, so the Younger Dryas, also called Younger Dryas Stadial, is a cool period between roughly 12,900 and 11,600 years ago that disrupted the prevailing warming trend occurring in the northern hemisphere at the end of the Pleistocene epoch, or epoch.
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 Right.
That's the
Thank
correct.
you.
Yeah, my
Is
bad.
it epic?
I said epic because I don't know how to pronounce words.
He doesn't know how to
apparently.
read. He's from Baldwin.
Yeah.
Baldwin Berry over here.
But I think that what people like, say, Randall Carlson kind of hop on is that this period of time was caused by a cataclysm. The most popular
Like a
one,
motherfucking asteroid.
an asteroid, and this is a very real thing. Like we know, say for fact, that the dinosaurs were wiped out by the effects of an immense and gigantic asteroid.
The Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what made that.
So I'm just saying, like, there's lots of stuff flying around out here in the universe. I don't
The
think,
galaxy, even.
yeah, in the galaxy, it stands to reason that
solar
we have been
system.
impacted more than a couple times
I think that
in the billions of years that the Earth has existed.
it does make sense that a cataclysmic event would wipe away any evidence for and therefore any evidence against.
Yeah,
So I can understand that while
Because if you live on the west coast of Africa and an asteroid hits the Gulf of Mexico, that's going to fuck your day up.
yeah, no doubt,
yeah, but
but that timeline doesn't add up for the dinosaurs.
That's, I mean, whatever.
well, and that almost brings me to another point. Is that
Here we go.
So the dinosaurs are said to have existed 65 million years ago.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah,
Somewhere around that. I mean, there's a lot of room for error there. But humans are only said to have existed. I mean, modern humans for 20,000 years, somewhere around that. Not even necessarily modern humans, but more modern
Homo
hominid-
sapiens.
Homo sapiens, yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of hominids that have been floating about and whatnot. But
Are we about to go Bigfoot on him?
Bigfoot's real, 100%.
You think Bigfoot's real?
Oh, dude.
I think there's more than one. Obviously, I think it's
It's a
a
species.
Well,
yeah.
no, of course. I mean,
Wow,
I-
Jinx
yeah,
said
yeah,
that
Of
at the same
course.
time.
Of course. So you think there's the fabled Sasquatchanakwa just hanging out? Just
Sasquatchanakwa.
Well, okay. Here.
Really, that's a reference to Total Drama Island.
Wow, yeah, that's really in there, man.
Yeah,
I forgot about that show.
That's what we call a deep cut.
I'm layers deep. I'm totally checked out.
So, like, there's. Okay. Oh my god. That was good. So, okay, let me finish up what I was talking about first, and then Bigfoot. So, I think there's been plenty of time for lots of different species to evolve and then become extinct. In fact, only like a very small percentage of all life that has existed on the Earth still exists today. Why do we think that we're so special that we're the only ones that have gotten it this advanced, you know?
I think you can apply the arrogance argument to many different stuff.
And you're
Many
probably
different
right.
Stuff.
I just think
Like, why do we think we're so special that aliens would want to talk to us, would want to communicate with us, would want to, would deem our
Well,
our-
that's a huge thing.
That's a whole thing right?
that I hear about.
Why
It's
would
like-
we think, and then on the in a totally
we're
different.
we're
thing
just a
that
bunch of apes with nukes.
Right, that I don't agree with. Totally different thing that I don't agree with would be, why do we think we are arrogant enough to change the climate? You know, like why would we be important enough to change the climate? There's like a whole bunch of stuff that you can apply that to. Some of it's totally valid. Some of it's not very valid.
that's
Are you,
true.
Are you saying that we're
It's
not
a broad
Are
argument.
you saying that we're
Yeah.
not powerful enough to enact climate change?
No,
Where
I
did
mean,
I
no.
just walk
I
into?
definitely,
I don't know. Austin's over here.
You missed it.
I definitely think that that we are, and that's what's happening. But I think that there's the whole, why are we are arrogant enough to think that we are the pinnacle of intelligent life. On Earth, at least. I mean, I agree with you. I know what you're saying.
I think dolphins are way smarter.
You think dolphins are smart?
They have bigger brains.
They do have bigger brains.
Well, so do elephants. Well,
Yeah,
elephants
it's
are really
enormous.
smart too. So I don't.
You know, I hear we've talked about this on the show before that manatees and dugongs have very human-like genitalia.
Hold up, dugongs?
What is that?
Dugongs have very human-like
Yeah, what is it?
genitalia.
What is that?
A dugong?
Yeah, I've never heard
It's
of a
like
dugong.
it's like a manatee,
Oh,
a sea cow.
a variant.
Okay.
They got it.
There used to be really, really big sea cows at one point, and the thought is that we hunted them to extinction. Although that also comes to another argument on: did we actually hunt all of these giant megafauna to extinction, or were they wiped out by
I
cataclysm?
love the word megafauna.
Megafauna.
I love
Talk
that.
about a good band name.
Megafauna. Wow, we're coming up with a bunch of. We should write these down. Megafauna
that's the
and
goal.
what was the other one?
The pollinators.
The pollinators.
Pollinators, brother.
Yeah.
If
And
I
the
saw
nice-
megafauna on a bill with the pollinators, I'm buying that ticket.
Wow. Well,
Otherwise, sight unseen.
hey, let's go ahead and buy those
Megafauna-
domains before
Yeah.
somebody else does.
Can you get
There's
those
a V and the
I'm on it.
pollinators.
with special guest megafauna?
Megafauna.
Wow, I'm hooked on that.
Hey, will you go ahead and get those URLs for me? Can you get those?
Yeah, I'll log into
Reserve
AWS
those.
when I get home.
I love the phrase megafauna, the word megafauna, because there was
Yeah.
something that we talked about, and I took a documentary film class, okay, that was about environmental documentaries, right? And there was one specifically, and it was about the killing of dolphins. It's called
Oh.
The Cove. You really should
Yeah, I
check
saw
it
that
out.
one.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
crazy.
I think I have watched
They
that.
do like a heist. It's awesome. They do a heist to plant cameras in the cove where they slaughter 20,000 dolphins a year in Japan somewhere.
I have watched this.
Fucking insane. But one of the things that we talked about was like, well, why is this what's being talked about in a documentary when there are many other issues that are happening that we could be talking about? Like, well, one of the reasons would be charismatic megafauna. We really like big, cute animals.
Like a
Dolphins is one of
beluga
those.
whale. I saw a beluga whale and her baby beluga whale swimming in circles at the aquarium in Chicago, and my mom cried.
Oh,
I would have.
It was beautiful.
Allison and I watched the Pixar short last night, and she cried because it was.
which
it was-
Pixar short was this?
I can't remember what it was called.
You
but it
guys
was-
can watch live action film.
No, I know.
He only makes this girl watch cartoons. I don't understand.
The idea that I make her do this.
I like cartoons too, man. I'm big into cartoons.
Put it on because she likes them, and she picked it out. It was one from 2009 that I had never seen before, and it was about storks delivering babies and delivering different
I
kinds
remember
of
that
babies.
one.
It was really awesome.
What do you mean different kinds of babies?
Yeah, well, different like species of babies. There were, like,
Species?
puppies and kittens.
Aww.
And there's one like stormy cloud that can only make mean animals, I guess. Like it makes like the clouds make babies, and then
the storks pick 'em up and
deliver
take
those
'em home.
babies. So there's like teams of storks in the clouds. And spoilers. Well, we'll get there, I guess. But there's one storm cloud that can only make bad babies, mean babies, which he makes a little alligator baby, and,
Aww.
and it's really mean. Like,
Who's to say an alligator baby is a mean baby?
well, I mean, it just,
Well, he was in the short.
yeah, in the short,
Okay.
yeah, it chomped the head of the stork. And,
Okay, I'll
yeah.
take it.
That's my thing. I agree with you, Danielle. We need more positive alligator visibility.
Yeah.
We do. We need more positive, just animal
Interior of
visibility.
crocodile. alligator.
I mean, if
Rats?
I'm a baby alligator and I only
Rats,
see
I agree with that.
if I only see negative representations of my people in the
Danielle
media,
has an agenda.
I do have a rat agenda. I do.
But she was crying because the stork had had another cloud make like football pads and a helmet, so that it would no longer be hurt by the dangerous animals that its cloud was making, and it was really sweet. And she started crying.
Oh.
She was like, "It's just so sweet."
I'm
Honestly,
gonna need you to enlighten us with the title of this short because I really want to watch it.
I can't remember what it's called. I'll find it.
Okay.
I'll
Good
find
to
it.
know.
I got Disney Plus.
we got Disney Plus too.
I signed up for 3 years in advance.
That
Oh,
Wow.
I got like $200 off or something.
I
It was
didn't know
crazy.
that was a thing.
It was
That,
it was a pre-sale.
that someone to lava one that they played before Moana.
Lava
Oh
Moon.
God.
I don't even remember Moana, but
A
that.
long, long time ago.
No.
Oh, you remember?
Okay, so I'm not logged in.
Yeah, I remember that. That was so good.
You're not logged. You forgot your Disney Plus password?
Yeah, I don't have my Disney Plus. Well, I use my mom's, and I got a new phone, so I'm not logged into Disney Plus on this phone yet. So if I will absolutely help you find this Disney short. Although you can probably
You
just
could have
find
Googled it
if you
by
Well,
now.
we probably
Okay.
find it.
Just
I
type
think
in Pixar.
I kind of
store.
think it's
No, Austin could have Googled it in the time it took him to explain that he lost his pirated Disney
And that he
Plus
uses his
password.
mom's.
I think it's called Storks.
That's
me
better
alone.
content,
You're telling me
though.
you're not on your mom's
No,
Netflix?
no. My dad called me today and he said, "Hey, your HBO Max just popped up on my TV. So did you just literally right before we came here? He was like, "Did you just get an HBO Max subscription?" I was like, "Yeah."
You got to
Are
guard
you stealing
that
my
one.
data? Like, what is
Yeah.
that?
Are you mining data on me for the
Yeah,
NSA,
what the hell?
father?
I
Partly
don't
cloudy.
understand how
It's
that
called partly
happened.
cloudy.
but
Oh, partly
he gained
cloudy.
access immediately.
Wow,
Immediately.
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, share the world.
I'm behind on the
Share
Mandalorian.
the HBO Max.
I
My cousin
haven't.
was in one of the episodes.
Really?
He was.
Barry mentioned this to me. and
You know, I hung out with a guy who went on later to be a stormtrooper.
Oh yeah.
Bradley Cooper.
No, his name was Andy, and he's like a German model or something.
Oh,
And he got to be a
fancy.
stormtrooper.
That's really cool. Yeah, my cousin lives in LA and he does a lot of background work. So he's
That's
in a lot
awesome.
of really neat, just random productions, and that was one of the ones that he got to be a part of.
That's awesome.
Yeah, super cool to be a part of such a big production and see like the behind the scenes and how all that is working.
The way they
Really
made that show
neat.
is fucking brilliant. Because
Yeah.
they just anyway, I don't know. They just made it in Unreal Engine or whatever, and then it's so cool.
super neat.
Super
neat.
cool.
I mean, you obviously can't tell that it's him because he's wearing like a freaking mask. and
Right,
shit, But
yeah.
super neat. Cool guy.
It's called Partly Cloudy. I don't know if you count that.
Oh, okay.
So there
Good
you go.
to know.
For you,
Thank
for
you.
your yeah.
See?
My
See? Take
viewing
that home.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Take
It's
that
so
home.
good.
Hell yeah.
Jesus.
So, did we ever get back to Bigfoot?
No,
Oh,
we
have
never
not
actually
gotten
hit
back to
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, no.
Get back to it. Did I miss?
We
this?
didn't start it. So,
Okay, here we go.
he said something about hominids, and then I said, "Are we going to go full Bigfoot on them?" And then Barry said, "Bigfoot is real," and Austin said, "Really?"
All right, Barry.
Okay, so the whole argument seems to be like, oh, well, we have, aerial view of like all of the land, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but there is not,
It's not
Like-
just aerial view though.
it's not, like we don't know about all the caves. We don't know about all the cave systems.
Okay.
We also are not 100% monitoring the entire Earth all the time, or else, we wouldn't really have as much terrorism and crime because we would know where everybody was at all times. So we're not like constantly looking for Bigfoot.
I don't know if that's fair to say at all. I don't think that's the. I don't. Okay, well I'll let you finish.
I don't know. In the Jason Bourne movies, they can pull up a satellite feed of just about anything pretty quick.
That's fair, dude.
Actually, we can't
get
pull
where
up satellite feeds above the Amazon. The Amazon is almost constantly having like clouds and like a bunch of stuff above it all the
Isn't
time.
a large part of the Amazon totally
Non-visible.
unexplored also?
Yeah, that too. We actually have like discovered like uncontacted tribes there
Yeah,
fairly
feral
recently.
tribes, dog. And they're aggressive. You're not supposed to go near them.
They
No,
also
they don't like white people. That's a thing.
They also happen to share very similar DNA with Australian Aborigines, which doesn't really make
Pangea, brother.
a whole lot of sense.
Pangea,
I think
land bridge.
I'm kind of thinking more seafaring civilizations earlier than we thought, which is also argued against all the time. But I think it could be possible,
Especially seafaring.
especially if Atlantis was real.
Mostly in the Pacific Northwest, right? How is that area not more explored or enough explored that we can totally discount it? Do
I
we
mean,
think that,
weren't we just talking earlier though about how like, these big
cataclysmic events?
Well, not that. I was talking about like national forests being kind of like, like that's why like
Right.
people like dump bodies there and stuff all the time because they think they aren't going to be found.
Because they're going to get eaten by a Bigfoot from Atlantis.
Okay,
Well, it's been there, but we've had cartographers and whatnot. And
Okay.
then access to that stuff for that area for so long. I feel like we'd have more than like
And it's
just
not
the
just looking at aerial
picture.
views. It's taking, what the heck it's called? Like going across the ground and seeing, you know, footprints and you know what types of organisms are being eaten.
I would love
We have.
I would love for Sasquatch to exist.
What
No,
if they're
same,
Yeah.
same. Like I'm rooting for it, but at the
What
same
if-
time, it's like,
Yeah.
what if they're like ultra stealthy? Like, hear me out. So like
I am hearing you out.
chameleons exist, right? And
Fucking chameleons.
octopuses, you know, and they're able to like change the literal color of their skin and the texture of their
yeah.
bodies at will.
And an octopus can open a pickle jar.
Who's to say
Yeah, but-
that an ape couldn't? You know?
I'm not
What if-
saying they
Like the
couldn't,
Predator,
but how
dog.
would we not know that at this point, or have like some sort of clue that that's the case, especially with such a large being? Like we are constantly, we have researchers out there looking at all these different ecosystems.
That
and,
is
like,
the
how
one
things
thing
are
that I always
working.
get back to is that the lack of remains.
Yeah, for sure. Because like
Oh,
they could have a natural death, and then where does that go?
what if they dispose of their dead? You know, what if they're tribal? What
I
if they're
would like
intelligent
to-
enough to like
I just
do that?
I
But
don't
where do
know,
they
I
put
would-
them?
Exactly, and I would think if they were tribal, we would have some more evidence about it. I would, if it was such a thing where these things do exist, it would be, at least in my mind and conceptual model of the world.
How
Obviously, I
many-
don't know, but I would think that it would be a couple here and there that we're just like not freaking seeing.
There are 12
Not like
seasons.
a whole fucking tribe.
There are
Of what?
12 There are 12 seasons
Bigfoots.
of Finding Bigfoot.
12 seasons of Finding Bigfoot?
There are 12 seasons of
Yeah,
Finding
and why
Bigfoot.
haven't we found him yet? If there
Okay,
are 12 damn
that show
seasons.
is irrelevant. Okay. That is not what I'm talking about when I'm
But the
talking
thing
about
is,
Bigfoot.
It's like, I mean, you know, we appear to have at least put some effort into it, and you know, we've spent 12 seasons
Oh.
of reality TV trying
Because that.
because that's the pinnacle of research.
Here's the
Right,
thing.
because that's the pinnacle.
It doesn't help our argument, Barry, that there's 12 seasons. There's no physical remains and
We're
12
just
seasons of
throwing
Finding
that
Bigfoot.
out there. Like, how? What is your response?
Well, there's what 15, 16 seasons of Ancient Aliens, and I'm not sitting here saying that there's not life in the universe.
That's true.
Okay, I think that's a little. Okay,
Did you see Prometheus?
it's a little bit different.
Oh, we've got like, there's like, I did not see Prometheus.
Okay, never mind.
Oh, Prometheus was amazing.
Yeah,
There's-
it's the jam. It's my
There's,
favorite one.
You know, there's hieroglyphs of like UFOs or whatever, yada yada.
Yeah,
There's,
in
like-
the Mona Lisa.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, in
Foots,
the
too.
Mona Lisa, there's stuff. There's all whatever. Okay, so we have that at least. But the thing is, it's like we don't have
Bigfoot's body.
anything besides the
Or like any sort
The
of
walking
DNA
picture.
evidence. It could be a
The
one
Patterson
hair.
the Patterson footage is what you're talking about from
yes.
67.
Patterson Gimlet film.
You're just flexing that you know that.
No, he is really on it. He is really on it.
Actually called the Patterson.
I believe that footage is a sham. I truly do. I think
and that
think
makes
that
it
it's
hard.
fake. However, an old professor of mine, and also of Danielle's, John Wickersham is his
He's a
name.
storyteller.
He is a wonderful storyteller. And he has this story. And what's really interesting about it is that it took place in the 50s. This is, well, a good 10, 15 years before the Patterson footage, before it even came out. He calls it the critter story. He doesn't really talk about it like it's Bigfoot, because he's like, about the whole Bigfoot phenomenon. It's like there's a lot of culture surrounding the Bigfoot, and that's not, he doesn't talk about it in that light. He's a huge skeptic himself, but he has talked in class about the experience that he's had with something coming up to his tent and putting its giant hands pressing down into his tent, and
Yeah,
he's
but
had
told
more
me-
than one.
You told me a different story.
He has more than one critter story. He's had multiple experiences.
Okay, I'm gonna let you finish, and then I'll
I
play
do-
devil's advocate.
Okay, yeah, most definitely.
Big old hands on the tent, Barry.
Big old hands on the tent. And he also talks about, like, it was making a ruckus out in the woods.
He heard a ruckus?
It was like banging rocks at the trees and clapping sticks together and, making noise. And they used to camp out in a kind of remote area in Colorado, so out there in the mountains. It's actually really interesting. Like, they would go out there, back when you could do this kind of stuff, and they would just, like, roll up the highway and shoot guns at stop signs, and they would, like, play
I never heard this part.
they
of the story.
they did this thing where the whole year they would pour liquor into this big, like, XXX, like, jug, any kind of liquor, and they would fill it up until they went on their summer trip, and they would go hang out in this remote area all summer.
Hammered.
And that, that's where they had their experiences. Bunch of crazy stories about that. But, the one that's always stuck out the most to me was this about the critter. And ultimately, I think I just want to believe my professor.
That's fair.
And I think it's interesting that the story takes place like a very good amount of time before Bigfoot was even a thing. And I just feel merit in the story. And that's my feeling. So, I mean, that doesn't really mean anything.
I
But
understand what you're saying, though. Yeah.
but I believe him.
Right.
I do want to hear Daniel's devil's advocate,
I
though,
also
because she
want-
had him as a
No.
teacher as well.
I did have him as a teacher, and I was not as close to him, as you were. And definitely, I think he's a awesome guy. I think there absolutely is merit to his stories. At the same time, I did hear different stories, and his main story he told us was that he was, camping in the high country of the mountains and came across more like just cabins that were like abandoned and anyone could like camp out in them, and that's where the story took place. But at the same time, devil's advocate is if you're connecting with college-aged people and getting them interested in your class, maybe you would tell a couple stories. He's a writer.
Mm-hmm. The Morning is Always Nigh is his book. I have it at home. Yeah.
Super cool dude. Yeah, I would agree. Like, the way that he would speak on it, I don't think that he's, just, like, telling stories to tell stories.
Right.
At the same time, if you're, camping in the high mountains, you're going to hear some shit.
That's true, too.
What about the hands on the tent,
Yeah,
Danielle?
big hands on tent.
I didn't hear the hands on the tent story.
The hands on the tent.
I heard
Hands
a
on the
creeping
tent.
around an
Hands
abandoned
on the tent.
cabin story. And,
Hands
maybe,
on the cabin.
Maybe I wasn't as close to him to hear the hands on the tent story.
The time he was in the cabin was later than the hands on the tent. That's when he was with his son at the site. That was actually, I think, later than the 50s.
I love how you know exactly what I'm talking about.
No, yeah. And there was banging on this cabin, which, by the way, I need to find the name of the site, but it's a historical site now.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a place you could just go out there and camp or anything. Like, there's signs up like, oh, this was used, these people were coal miners and blah, blah, blah. And
Sure.
there's actually mines nearby this place. There's a whole nother story where him and his friends found a crate of dynamite out there, which after an amount of time, when dynamite has sat for too long, it becomes unstable. So they were like, maybe not, and left the
I
mine.
would have dove right in there. Oh.
No, you can't handle old dynamite.
Mm-mm.
You can lose an arm or a whole face. Like the Panama Canal, they had sweaty dynamite, bro. It was a problem.
Sweaty dynamite.
It was so humid down there, and they didn't insulate the dynamite, and so it would just like fuck up, and people died.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess
I just got it in safe distance away and just thrown a rock at it.
the first time they
A rock and a crate of dynamite, lipstick in my Valentino white bag.
there is also
Sorry, Barry.
so apparently they came across somebody else when they were camping out there. They saw a fire in the distance, and they went to check it out, because I guess that's what you did back then. They're like, who is this camping over there? We should check out our surroundings. And it was just some dude camping out by himself, and he described having encounters with this critter. He's like, yeah, I've heard stuff out in the woods and blah blah blah. So this person could have just been messing with them for all we know. Maybe it was his big hairy palms pressing into the tent. Like, I just think the most interesting thing to me is that it took place like long before the Patterson footage was even a thing. And the fact that he calls it the critter and not Bigfoot.
Right.
That's what makes it believable to myself. Also, I was just perplexed by the story in a medieval philosophy class where I wanted to literally talk about anything else than medieval philosophy. So I was like, yeah, Bigfoot, let's go. Yeah.
So calling it a critter, it's like it could have been a chupacabra.
The chupacabra.
It could have been the Mothman.
Ooh, that's another one. I love these cryptid stories, honestly. I grew up on this stuff. They tried to ban the books from my elementary school, same era when they were trying to, like, you know, the PTO moms were trying to ban Harry Potter and stuff because it was magic. But I had a really cool librarian that hid all the UFO Bigfoot books so they wouldn't get rid of them because she knew that I only took those books from the library. I never read anything else other than, like, the Chronicles of Narnia and Harry Potter.
That's a beautiful story, Barry.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Let's put a pin in that.
Yeah.
Guys, that's another episode of Jacob V Weekly. High five. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Google, whatever. Please subscribe, rate, review, interact in some way. It helps us out. We have an Instagram page for the show at Jacob V Weekly where we post exclusive content and clips and highlights from previous episodes. You can contact the show with questions or topics for future discussion at jacobvweekly@gmail.com. And you can call the show and leave us a voicemail, 314-632-6602. Oh, you can also find original music by myself and actually most of my guests here this evening on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Deezer. Why don't you bing it? I've curated a monthly Spotify playlist since May of 2020. I have one for each month on Spotify. Search for Jacob V's favorite songs, and you'll see them all there, updated frequently. We did it. High five. Any last words, team?
Yeah.